right there. We'd like to welcome Coach Shire back to the Final Four. Coach, we'll ask for an opening statement, then we'll take some questions.
Sounds good. All right, well, I think it goes without being said, but couldn't be more excited to be here at the Final Four. It's a special thing to be playing Houston. We understand what an amazing challenge this game will be. Look, for me, year one when I got the coaching job at Duke, you're trying to figure out who to scrimmage and what you can do. And we sought out scrimmaging Houston. And that was the respect that I had for Coach Samson, Houston's program, what they stand for. And, to be here competing against them, it's an honor. But couldn't be more proud of our team. We're taking it all in and excited at the same time. So I'll let you guys ask any questions, but I just want to comment on Coach Samson and his team, and just the culture that they've had is something that I looked at right away when I became the head coach, and we're ready for the challenge.
Coach, we'll start on the left side with Luke.
Hey, John, Luke Decock from the News and Observer. Number one, what's your favorite Cooper Flag commercial? And number two, how has he and how have you sort of managed in this NIL era to keep the locker room level at a time when some guys are getting those opportunities and some guys aren't?
Well, I think that it goes with anything, right? Playing time. There's always going to be things you can compare or look at. But at the end of the day, I think for our guys, they've each had amazing opportunities. So I don't think anybody's coming away empty-handed. To answer your first question, my favorite one's the bingo. I think the bingo one was great acting. Seeing his mammy in there, I thought it was a pretty good job by him. But frankly, our guys have done a great job. Once the tournament started, they haven't done a lot of NIL stuff. They did it earlier in the year, and they've been locked into this once-in-a-lifetime chance that we have here.
Just a few seats in.
Connor O'Neill with Devils Illustrated. John, we've heard over the last few years since you've been head coach that you are willing to tell guys what they need to hear instead of what they might want to hear. How important is it to you to be honest with guys, both in the recruiting process, that you're going to coach them hard, and then to follow through on it when they get to Duke and coach them hard?
Well, to me, it's the only way you can have success, and it's part of how I was raised as a player, getting that from Coach K and Chris Collins and Steve Wojciechowski and Johnny Dawkins every single day. So it's part of who we are. It's part of the culture. And for me, I've had the biggest breakthroughs as a player and now as a coach when you have those confrontations. And they don't always have to be hostile, but it does need to be based on truth. And so I'm glad I've been able to go through that with our guys, and I'm always going to be myself. That's who I am. And I think at the end of the day, you find out very quickly as a head coach, you're not going to be liked all the time, and you have to accept that. But I do think if you're always honest and show that you care, you'll always have the respect. And that's something that I always hope to have.
Same area of the room, Aaron.
Hey, Aaron Beard with the AP. John, you've made that walk to the court in the middle of a football stadium as a player, as an assistant coach. I'm curious, considering all the pressure that was on you following Mike Krzyzewski, what it meant to be here making those walks and having a team here as a head coach for the first time.
Well, it's special. You feel a great deal of responsibility, to be the head coach at Duke, and you want for your players to be able to experience this. And so walking out there today for practice, I was just soaking it in like I was when I was 22 years old, walking out for the first time. It's the Final Four is a once in a lifetime kind of thing, and to be a part of this being my fourth Final Four, obviously first as a head coach, but if you're around great people, you're at a great place. It's something I'll never take for granted, but at the same time, I feel we belong here. I feel this is what we've worked for, and so there's that combination of amazing pride, wanting to soak it in, but then the incredible hunger and understanding what a challenge, this game is going to be on Saturday. So for me, it's that combination.
Coach, a little further back, Mike.
Yes, John, Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News.
There you are. I got you.
Good to see you.
How did I miss you? And
Good color today, Mike.
Thank you. I wanted to ask you about your philosophy in recruiting. You guys have obviously made some nice additions from transfers, but the core of your team is recruited players out of high school. When you were starting 3 years ago, was that a conscious decision? And was it just because, hey, we can get these great players, let's get them? Or is there some way that you decided that was the best way to move forward with Duke?
You know, I've learned a lot in 3 years. I think year one, Mike, we kind of felt like we could just keep this thing going like it had been going and recruit a lot of freshmen and, retain. And actually, I recruited even more my first year, hoping those guys could turn into veteran players in our program. But the reality is the college basketball landscape just blew up at the same time where that became harder to do. So, but for us, I think it's foolish to say you have one way of recruiting and then always doing that. I think there needs to be some agility, also some understanding. If we're relying heavily on freshman players, they better be ready to go right away. So for this year, we felt very confident that this class we had coming in that could impact winning right away. Next year, I feel we have a group already that can do the same. But I think that's going to vary year to year. I think it's based on the freshman class and the readiness. It's based on who we could have returning. Last year was less. Next year may be a little bit more. And then you supplement in the portal for us based on readiness and the things I just talked about. And what I found this year in the transfer portal, for the right guy, it could be an amazing situation. But it's going to be different here. And the job that Sion James, Malik Brown, and Mason Gillis have done, that profile for us is going to be there going forward. But I do think you have to adapt. I don't think it can be just one way. You see where rev share goes next year, and it may be different a year from now. And so I think having still your identity of how you want to put together a team, but also having some agility with understanding you need to adjust to all these different things that are being thrown at you.
Center of the room, Zach.
Zach Brazil, New York Post. What has Mason meant to you guys? He obviously is a minor role, but you talked about the experience factor with guys. What has he meant to you, and is he a good luck charm? It's the second year in the Final Four with a different team.
Well, you know what? Mason's more than a good luck charm. Mason is a winner through and through, and he may not have the best statistics or the most points, but he's played a major role for us. And if you look at our season, some of the toughest moments we've been in, the toughest spots, Mason has really won us the game. You think about at Louisville, we're down double digits. Cooper gets 4 fouls in the second half. Mason comes in, we make a comeback, and we win. At Wake Forest, we're down 6 in the second half. Mason comes in, hits the biggest three of the game, we win. Our one loss we had was without Mason. And so it's not just he's a winning player with his physicality, being able to shoot, but it's his voice every day in the locker room. It's the confidence that he gives everybody else, and it's his readiness, no matter when his number is called, to come in, compete. And he's a guy that's not afraid because he's seen everything at Purdue, for 5 years. So I've loved coaching Mason, and he's been just a huge asset to our team with his size and physicality and his leadership.
Next three are Matt, Dan, and Dennis.
John, Matt Norlander, CBS Sports. I know you've talked before about how you struggle to get as much sleep as you want. Has Houston allowed you to get even a wink over the past few nights? And then this is obviously a defense on an entirely different level from anyone you have remotely faced this season. What have you told your guys about preparation, and how much can you actually prepare them for what they'll physically go up against when the ball tips on Saturday night?
One, haven't slept much. That's a credit to Houston. But I'll force myself to the next couple of nights. It's also the excitement of everything, of course. But Houston, no offense to our scout team, we have a great scout team. It's not something you can replicate. And so it's a combination of understanding what could or could not be there, but then also at the same time, you don't want to make them out to be the boogeyman either. And you have to have confidence. We're a great offensive team, and I want us to be us. And in doing that, you're going to have some moments where you may go through a stretch you don't score. And the thing that's been consistent for us is our defense. So we can't let any offense impact our defense. But we're going to be who we are. I know firsthand after playing them last year and scrimmaging them the year before. We know very well like how legit their defense is and their physicality and all that. But let's be us and let's not be in our heels. And I think that's an important thing when you play them because they're terrific. Like you talk about 5 guys moving together on defense, they're the best at it. They're the best at it no matter what you do. So you really have to take advantage of that window of opportunity, and then you have to go north-south. You can't be going east-west against these guys.
Up front on the right, Dan.
John, hey, Dan Wolkin, USA Today. You're the only team here that starts a teenager, and you start 3 of them. Was any part of you concerned that, you're going this way, the rest of college basketball is going the other way in terms of just roster build? And then, is it good for college basketball that guys are staying, literally as long as they possibly can?
The first question, I think there's a part of you that feels maybe you're a little crazy at times just because it's so different. I will say the confidence level is pretty high, though, when you think about the freshmen being Cooper and Kaman and Kun and Isaiah and Pat and Darren. So that we felt like we had a special class that you can't have every year. And then we especially felt confident when we knew we could support them with great experience, toughness, winning players in the portal and returning with Tyrese and Caleb. So, I think that, to me, is end of the day, felt great confidence still and belief in what you feel is best. And then, I think it's good having guys stay. I think there's a limit to it, though. I think I think we're getting to a place here where now, 4 or 5 years is enough. But I think, for us, we've been able to take advantage of it too. Having Mason Gillis has been an awesome thing for us. And if I missed a year with COVID, they deserve that year back. But I do think going forward, it's probably going to be pretty good having that age where it should be. 23 years old should be the last year or around then. But again, I could go on about that, but I'm not going to.
Up front on the right, Dennis.
John, Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports. What did compel you to seek out Houston on the road for that scrimmage, and what amounted to your first competition? And then what do you remember about it?
Well, I remember I won the toughest test for our team, and I just believed Houston would be the toughest test. Actually, a bunch of the guys that we're playing now were still on that team. And so that was the first thing. And because they're the toughest test because of their coach. Their coach is as good as it gets in college basketball and basketball, period. I just admired from afar the way they defended, how they were building their culture. We had such a new group. I mean, Jeremy Roach was the only player returning that played. Jalen Blakes was coming back. But I want our guys to be exposed to the highest level, and we were. And that day, I actually learned a lot about our group because I thought we showed great toughness. We probably lost that day. It's hard to say if you win or lose a scrimmage based on we're stopping it more and all that. But, I think we got punched in the face many times that day. We punched back, though, and I thought we had a great gauge for who our team was and how we could move forward. And we also learned, all right, this is what it looks like, to have a big-time team and culture. And the thing I enjoyed most, though, was before the scrimmage, Coach Samson and I sitting down for about 45 minutes just talking about life. It wasn't just about basketball. I was talking about life. And his knowledge, his support, he texted me many times throughout that year. With not many coaches do that, and genuinely has reached out for his support. Me and him were stuck in recruiting this spring in Phoenix, probably the worst thunderstorm that's ever came through Phoenix. Me and him were just there for a couple of hours talking about each other's teams, and I've really appreciated the friendship, the mentorship, and I can't tell you how much I respect him and what he's meant to our game and who he is as a coach.
Up front to the left.
Hey, John, Steve Wiseman, News and Observer. On that scrimmage, we were just talking to Tyrese, and he said, I'll clean it up. He got his butt kicked that day. So that was his assessment of it.
Yeah.
What do you remember about the lessons he needed to learn from that, from his first experience, and And is it carried forward? Is this the best version of Tyrese right now that we're seeing as a Duke Blue Devil?
Yeah, Tyrese is, he came in as a boy, you throw him into the fire against Houston is probably the worst and the best thing we could have done. And I think he just has shown so much toughness throughout his 3 years, and he's playing at such a high level because he's as good of a two-way guard to me as there is in college. What he does on the defensive end, how he's been ready to shoot, his playmaking, his toughness. He's just become a complete guard. And in order to become that, you have to go through some moments like that day at Houston. And so I feel so confident having Tyrese on our team. And just for him, just going through those moments, he's become even tougher and better.
Toward the back next, Coach Fanta.
John Fanta, Fox Sports. John, I'm going to go down memory lane for a moment because a couple years ago when I'm talking with David Weber, he says that he believes the 2005 national championship game between North Carolina and Illinois, he was convinced that if that game goes a different way, maybe you end up suiting up for the Illini. Is there any truth to that? What do you remember about that time, and how would you reflect on those thoughts?
Well, I've been fortunate. I had a close friend who brought us to a couple Final Four games. The first one ever was 2001, Duke, Arizona. And I was sitting in the Arizona section because Michael Wright from Chicago got tickets through him. So I was sitting in the Arizona section rooting for Arizona. And then in 2005, I promise I was not rooting for North Carolina in that game. I was rooting for Illinois. But whether they won or lost, my heart was with Duke. Like I knew that that's the place I belonged, and I really enjoyed my experience being recruited by Illinois, and that they had a big-time team. I mean, there's nobody that I love more than D. Brown as a player. Watching D and Luther Head and James Augustine, Roger Paul, Richard McBride, their whole team was awesome. Darren Williams, obviously. But for me, I knew Duke was the place that I wanted to go.
Up front, just to the left of the aisle.
Hey, John, Brendan Marks from The Athletic. To follow up on Steve's question, when Tyrese first came over and you brought him over early, what was it about that experience that you were willing to do that with him? And then also, not as much as a player, but as a person, how have you seen him grow to reach the point that he's at now from when you first got your hands on him?
Well, I think it's coming from a place of how I was raised at Duke, where you go after the guys you believe in, and then you know you're going to go through some tougher times maybe, but you just believe that at the end of the day, you're going to be somewhere special. And probably now, I would feel more pressured to go in the transfer portal instead of bringing in a young kid. And I'm so glad I made that decision. And, look, we've had great success, 27 wins the first 2 years, and championships and Elite Eights. But we probably aren't here if we didn't make that decision, at that time for Tyrese to come early and for him to go for it. He was going to have to take basically a year off. And so I think it was the best thing for him and his career, but also the best thing for us and for Duke to grow up together and to go through those moments.
On the right side, Myron, just to the left. You can give him your microphone. You didn't have one, Myron? All right, we'll give one to Dan.
Hey, John, Dan Wetzel, ESPN. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems to be my understanding that since Coach K retired, he has given a pretty wide berth to the program. He's not around practice. He hasn't come to a lot of games, certainly the first couple of years publicly. Was that something that he talked about as a plan? And if so, if it is accurate, how much has that helped you as a young coach and turning this program into the John Shire's Duke program?
Well, basically that's true. Coach K has given me amazing room to be myself. And, really the only advice he gave me from the beginning was to be true to me, like to be true to myself. And I already knew that. But for him to remind me of that from time to time has been important. I think he understands, when he's around, just the gravity and the people looking at him and all that. But we've gotten to a point where, one, our communication has been the same all the time. So I'll tell you, for me, in the toughest moments that I've had as a head coach my first 3 years, the person that I call is him. And for him to talk me through different moments or situations, not many coaches still have their coach, and I do. And so I couldn't be more grateful for that. The thing I have loved is he's come around more this year, and he's come to some home games. He hasn't come to a tournament game yet. I hope we can see him in San Antonio. But he's crossing paths with our guys. Like I love when he makes, all of a sudden he has a conversation with Cooper in the hallway or saying something to come on, because I want them to know the guy that I was coached by. So I think it's been like a beautiful thing, like very organic and natural with Coach K and I. The fact that we're still tight as could be. I've wanted this. I want him to be proud when he watches us. The defense, the sharing, all the things that he's taught me, I want him to see and feel with our group, while also understanding I'm not going to be perfect. I'm not going to bat 1,000, and he's really given me the room and the support that I need in order to succeed. So a lot of us being here is him having the vision of just a successful transition. And the last thing I would say is not many coaches truly want the program to succeed once they're done. And I think part of his legacy forever will be the fact that he set our program up for such success, and we're able to be in Final Four in year 3. And it's a credit to him and how the succession has gone down.
Coach, we're officially in OT, but I want to get one more in on the back left.
Aaron Torres, Fox Sports. A lot of conversation about like the transfer stuff versus the high school stuff, but I was curious, like the physical traits you were looking for in your players, because we all know how good Cooper is, but it feels like you guys just did an unbelievable job of adding size, depth behind him, and just what the roster building looked like once you got that commitment a few years ago.
Well, you know what? Obviously, look, Cooper gives you the luxury of having a guy that's so versatile where I think it's easier to add around him. But my first 2 years, year 1, we were big, hard time scoring. Year 2, we could really score, but we were smaller. So the goal was, let's combine the two. Let's be big and actually we can score and defend. And so we really valued the positional size, but we also valued shooting in a big way. I think if you look at our roster, really everybody can shoot, which is a big thing for spacing and having for Cooper having the ability to operate. And going forward, I don't know if we can be this big every year, but something that I've fallen in love with, we're going to try. And then also having the versatility on both ends of the floor, offense and defense, to be able to guard is also going to be something that we're going to look at.
We want to thank Coach Shire for joining us here in the main interview room and for the extra 60 seconds.
Absolutely.
We'll see you again tomorrow, Coach.
Thanks.